Hey guys, welcome back to 𝐸𝐿𝐸, the cooking channel that's not so useless. In today's video, we'll be showing you guys how we make our Cantonese-style braised beef brisket that is sure to knock your socks off. This is a great recipe to have for lunch or dinner, whether it's to share, for yourself, or maybe you want to fancify a late night 2-minute noodle. And of course, the star of this recipe is the beef brisket, which cooks great, low and slow. Now if you do enjoy this recipe, do consider subscribing for more videos. So this dish is quite simple to make, and we only need to do 2 key things: marinate the beef brisket and braise it. So to marinate the brisket, we're going to need beef brisket, light soy sauce, cooking wine, sugar, and salt. For the quantities, we need around 1 kilogram of beef brisket. In this video, we used about 1.1 kilograms, 1 tablespoon of light soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of cooking wine, 1.5 teaspoons of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt. Start off by giving the beef brisket a good wash through twice. Then pat it down well with some paper towels, making sure to absorb as much moisture as possible. Now bring out your knife. Slice the brisket into long strips, about 2 fingers wide. Then cut these strips into smaller pieces, a bit bigger than what some would consider bite-sized. Next, in a big bowl, add in all of your ingredients. And mix well until the salts and sugars dissolve. When done, gently press the meat down. Then wrap it up and put it in the fridge overnight. The next morning, take the brisket out of the fridge and let it warm up in room temperature for 30 minutes. To braise the brisket, we're going to need light soy sauce, cooking wine, oyster sauce, dark soy sauce, boiling water, star anise, 𝐸𝐸𝐿 paste, rock sugar, cloves, cinnamon powder, cumin powder, ginger, and garlic. For the quantities, we need 25 grams of light soy sauce, 35 grams of cooking wine, half a tablespoon of oyster sauce, a few drops of dark soy sauce, though this is optional and really just for colour, 500 to 600 milliliters of boiling water, and this will depend on how high your heat is during the braising process. For this video, we used about 600 milliliters, 2 whole star anise, 30 grams of 𝐸𝐸𝐿 paste, 35 grams of rock sugar, 10 cloves, a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon powder, a quarter teaspoon of cumin powder, 20 grams of ginger, and 20 grams of garlic. Start off by cutting ginger slices, and then top and tail, and crush and remove the skin from the garlic. For the hard to remove spices, we're going to put the cloves and star anise into a spice filter. Alternatively, you can use cheesecloth or just strain the braising liquid later. So we want to start by searing the brisket, and for this, we'll be using a wok, but if you don't have a wok at home, just use a frying pan and sear in batches. Now at your stove, turn the heat on high and add in a good layer of oil. When the oil is steaming hot, add in your garlic and ginger and then turn the heat down low. We want the garlic and ginger to infuse themselves into the oil to make the brisket more aromatic. Cook the garlic and ginger until golden. When golden, take them out and turn the heat back up high. Then start searing the brisket, making sure that each individual piece is in contact with the cooking surface. Many Chinese recipes tend to boil the brisket, which is a real shame as they're missing out on a great deal of flavour searing in juices. Again, if you're using a fry pan, cook in smaller batches to make this process easier. Add a little bit of oil on the sides of the wok to help the meat brown better. Since the heat of a wok predominantly comes from the bottom, we actually reposition the wok every 10 seconds, about 4 times in one cycle, to expose the side pieces of brisket to more heat. Once you've done a full rotation, flip the pieces of brisket over and do another cycle of repositioning. Afterwards, give the brisket a quick toss to prevent it from sticking to the bottom of the wok and burning. Now, it's time to add in the flavour. First, let's add the 𝐶𝐤𝐤 paste and mix it evenly throughout the brisket. Then add in the wine, and make sure you add it down the sides of the wok to help heat up the wine and also to wash any beefy goodness back into the brisket. Give the brisket a quick toss through, then add in the soy sauce, again from the sides, and toss through again. Then add in the garlic and ginger, and then add in the boiling water, and give a gentle mix through. Let the brisket steep in the liquid until it starts to boil. When the liquid boils, then it's time to braise the brisket. So we're going to braise our brisket in a casserole dish. Transfer the brisket and braising liquid into the casserole dish and turn the heat on high. Then gently press the brisket down into the braising liquid. The more beef that's submerged, the better. Next, we're going to add the remaining ingredients. And then give it a good stir. Once the liquid comes to a boil, put the lid on and turn the heat down low. We're going to let the brisket braise in increments of 20 minutes. In total, we're going to braise the brisket anywhere between 40 minutes to 1 hour, and this will depend on how tough your brisket initially is. 20 minutes into braising, give the brisket a good stir to prevent the bottom pieces from sticking to the casserole dish. Then put the lid back on and braise for another 20 minutes. 40 minutes in, again, we give a good stir whilst also pressing the meat down to assess the toughness. This takes a bit of practice. Otherwise, you can just steal a piece and test how chewy it is. Now, our brisket was still a bit tough, so we let it braise again for another 10 minutes. Finally, after 50 minutes, we stir once more and put the lid back on. Turn the heat on high and let the braising liquid reach a furious boil. Once the braising liquid boils, turn the heat off and just let the brisket be. Yep, just leave it. We're actually going to let it sit on the stove overnight for multiple reasons. 1. For convenience sake, when we come home from work the next day, we can just reheat this for dinner. And 2. The more important reason, this will help tenderize the brisket further, but also allow it to absorb more flavor from the braising liquid. If you don't want to wait until the next day to eat the brisket, then rather than steep overnight, let it steep for 1 to 2 hours, and then continue following the video. Now the brisket won't go off, so long as you don't tamper with the lid, so make sure you don't touch the lid until you want to reheat the brisket the next day. So the next day, reheat the brisket, making sure to turn the heat on low to prevent any burning of the brisket. When the liquid starts to boil, give the brisket a good stir through one last time, and then remove the cloves and star anise as best you can. And then once it's hot, your beef brisket is pretty much done. Now for us, there was still too much liquid, so we turned the heat on high and reduced the braising liquid further. How much you reduce the liquid by is up to you, but obviously, The less liquid, the more intense the flavour and the thicker it will be, so reduce per your discretion. Once you're happy with the thickness, transfer the beef brisket and braising liquid into a bowl. And top off with some green onions. And with that, your braised beef brisket is done. So guys, that was my family's recipe for braised beef brisket. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you ever get the chance to make this at home, be sure to tell us how it goes. And if you want to see any of our future videos, be sure to subscribe. See ya.